very much. I'm firstly, just because I work behind the scenes, it is truly lovely to see so many of you here today. The beautiful part for me is I know about 50% of you I've started to learn, which means that when I put the title The Dirtiest Word in Medical Education, I know many of you are already thinking of your own dirty words already. Now, this word isn't dirty in the true sort of A&E NHS sense. Right? We've got those special words for those particular type of people and patients and consultants. But this word's not dirty because it's rude. Dirty because of the way it makes you feel. It has this sort of visceral response on you, deep in the pit of your stomach, that's just sort of hate and heartsick and loathing and just all of the bad things that I can put together into education. And it just makes you feel a little bit dirty inside. Now, you've all heard this word, you've probably all used this word, and you've all heard it when you went back to med school, or when you went to nurse training, and someone turned around to you and said, I want you to write a reflection. Oh, right, just a little bit of sick just comes up. Because when you first hear it, you don't realise that this is such a dirty word. And then you go through training, and you start to realise that during training, it's a hoop jump exercise. It's this tick box that people say you've just got to do it in order to progress through training. It has no other purpose other than that. But why does it feel so dirty? Well, it feels dirty for two reasons, and I want you to think back to the time when you were first asked to reflect. Now, when you were first asked to reflect, how did they introduce it to you? Did they tell you what it was? Did they tell you how to do it? Did they tell you what success even looked like? Did the conversation start with why? Why you should reflect, or what the benefits of it might be? Did they tell you what you might achieve by doing so? Or did they just tell you it's a mandatory requirement for you to complete your e-portfolio or your 360 appraisals to progress to the next level? Because what we've managed to do with this one phrase is we've introduced reflection generally to novice learners. And we've introduced it to them, and we haven't told them the benefit, we haven't told them the structure, but we have told them that it's mandatory. And we told a group of people that are really smart. And they're really smart. What they do is they game the system. They game the system so that the weekend before the deadline, and I've done this, so I can kind of see the nodding going, yeah, you will do it too. Okay? You sit there, you open a couple of beers or a bottle of wine, start about midday, the reflections deteriorate as the day goes on. And you just knock out 50 reflections and you go, oh, how reflective am I? But these have no educational value. But what they do develop is a really healthy amount of resentment and some alcohol dependence. Now, I know that this sounds familiar, because I know that I've felt this way. I know I still do feel this way because of how it is approached, how it is introduced to us within the rest of our educational careers. But the question is, why should we care? Why should we care if actually that's the way we feel about it, and we're here as enthusiastic educators? Why should we care if our learners feel that way about it? Well, we should care because the benefits of it are huge. And loads of research has been looked into it. Okay? It shows that it can improve your clinical reasoning. It improves your ability to problem solve. It improves your creative thinking. So your ability to make diagnoses when actually it's not particularly clear. That's where your creative thinking is, and that's how reflection helps you professionally. It improves your speed of learning. You learn new skills quicker if you're reflecting on it, and it closes that gap between theory and practice. And it's not just our professional self that gets better with reflection. Our personal self gets better with it too. It improves our self-confidence. It improves our own confidence in our ability to perform procedures or manage particular situations. It improves our job satisfaction. It improves our emotional ability as well. Our ability to resolve negative emotions when mistakes happen, get better faster with reflection. So essentially, what reflection does is it makes us clinically smarter, better, faster and stronger. And yet a way of being able to introduce this to people is to make sure that they never want to reflect at any point during their career ever. So I've got a challenge for you. You're here because you're enthusiastic, you're motivated, you want to do good education. So your challenge is, when you go back to your departments, I want you to be a bit sneaky. I want you to introduce covert reflection, right? Reflection into your department so that your learners don't know they're reflecting, but yet your patients and your learners still getting all of the benefits to it. And I think you're already doing part of it, because I would expect that all of you already do regular morbidity and mortality meetings. This is departments being reflective. And just by show of hands as well, who else does awesome and amazing meetings? Where you actually start to talk about the good stuff that you do. What about Schwartz rounds? Does anyone do Schwartz rounds? Ooh, lovely. Okay, I'll definitely come to talk to you guys later then. So for people who don't know what a Schwartz round is, Schwartz rounds are a different type of reflection. They complement morbidity and mortality and awesome and amazing meetings. But instead of looking at the clinical aspects, they look at the emotional aspects of it as well. What's it like emotionally to be working in those environments that we all work? And what people find is that they feel less stressed, less isolated, and feel more like they're part of a team. And as a team, they're working within that department. Why don't we introduce covert reflection as a daily exercise too? Rather than just once monthly meetings, why don't we start to put this and make it happen as an everyday thing? So on Twitter, Simon McCormick put these out. And you can get these on our website. I'll upload them over the next couple of days. So these are posters that can go next to your arterial gas machine, so that while we, or your juniors, or your AMPs, or any of your staff are trying to inform their diagnoses and sitting there for 90 seconds waiting for the gas machine to stop cleaning itself on the 85, they can start challenging their own critical thinking. They can start reflecting on their diagnostic process and starting to actually affect the patient care on the fly through reflection. Alternatively, we could even do it during handover. During handover, you could introduce questions into your handover, such as, what went well? Or what did you learn during your last shift? Now these questions, they'll take about 5 extra minutes within your handover. But they'll make people start to be reflective. They'll make your outgoing team start to be reflective. And they'll stimulate a learning conversation between your outgoing and your incoming teams and yourself. They'll also cue your incoming team to look out for the things that went well and the things that they've learned during the course of the day, making the rest of their shift better too. So once we've started to do our covert reflection, can we improve ourselves as well? How can we use reflection to make ourselves smarter, better, faster and stronger too? I'm going to start with this. This is a common step in all reflection. Because without noticing, you can't reflect. Now, how many of you have got a system of being able to notice? Do you have a structure that you run through during the course of the day so that you're aware of what's going on? Or do you, like most of us, only reflect on the horrific trauma or the paediatric cardiac arrest that forces its way into your consciousness while you drive home? Actually, any structure works. It doesn't need to be a particular way. So some people use pen, like a pad of paper in their pocket. Some people with smartphones, if it's in your pocket, write notes and stuff in there. Other people like me, I've got a sticker machine in this department and I love it. Right? It's always about there. It doesn't matter where I stand in the department, it's always within arm's reach, and that's where I put my notes of the stuff that I need to go away and read or I need to go away and think about. So get yourself a capture system. Get a capture system that works for you and that is always present. Now once you've got your capture system, what should you be noticing? Everything. Notice everything from the Addisonian crisis that you're dealing with in research, but also make sure you don't forget the routine stuff. The routine stuff that you're doing day in, day out, such as, could I have actually closed that wound better? Or did that patient I just seen, did they really need antibiotics? And with each of these smaller reflections, improving each of your next patient's care. And also make sure you notice good things. Now we don't turn up to work to be average. None of us turn up to work to be average, we turn up to be great. And a vast proportion of the time we are. So let's give ourselves a break and make sure you also recognise the times when you are great and that you do deliver great care, so that you can go back and reflect on that and make sure that you deliver it every single time that you see the next patient as well. But I appreciate noticing it's not always easy. We work in a just truly chaotic environment with lots of distractions, the next patient's appearing, right? You're starting to get into a good place and then someone tries to die. It's not the nicest place to learn. So instead, when you do start to get that mental space, that time when you can think about it, ask yourself these questions, and they'll go online as well. What surprised me? What inspired me today? What challenged me? What am I most proud of? Each of these questions will then help you tease out something, tease out a reflective moment from amongst all of this sort of chaotic storm that we'll be working in. And what do you do once you've noticed it? Have a structure for how you reflect. And there's lots of them. You'll see lots in the literature of different structures and models of how you can reflect. But you know what? It doesn't matter which one you use. They're all the same. None of them are superior to one of the others. Right? They just do different things. Some of them work quite nicely for sort of shallow, superficial, quick reflections. Others allow you to be a bit more deep and sort of thoughtful and thought-provoking with your reflections as well. But just choose one. Go away and experiment with them. See what works for you. See what works for different cases that you might see. Which one works for the routine versus the resus case. And the best time for you to start is right now. It's hateful. I know it. I hate it. But actually just committing yourself to just doing it. And just do it regularly. And start small. And start regularly until it becomes part of your routine. And whether that's you writing your own small personal reflections just to yourself, whether you prefer to do narrative reflection, either journaling or writing on the blog, whether you've got friends that you prefer to actually just talk those cases through with and reflect as a group, any of those are fine. But just make sure that you're doing it regularly. Because reflection isn't the dirty word that we first thought it was. Reflection is the secret source of education. It improves our well-being. It helps us become stronger. It makes us clinically better. And it makes us smarter faster. Thank you.